Hello and welcome to part 2 of our machine learning series. This is our first real substantive topic. If this first slide looks familiar, it probably should. If you watch our automation series, we're simply going to repeat it here for the sake of consistency, and it is a good way to kick off the topic. Unsupervised machine learning is essentially a tool or tool set you can use to go into data and find patterns for you. There are some metrics you have to decide at the front end, which we'll get into, but that's really the beauty of it, is it will go in and find those patterns for you. Very often this is done for anomaly detection. Anything that is anomalous or not normal is typically something you need to look at. Is often where you look first for threats and risks when you know nothing more. So that's really the beauty of it. Some patterns you might expect to see that you might want to determine the normalcy of is transactions, human behavior, activity on a network or on a database and so forth. Whatever is not normal for those various resources is something that really should be researched. Let's take a better look at what unsupervised machine learning can do in a broader sense. The first area is what we call rot data. Data that's just sitting around doing nothing and presenting risk and costing money. That's data that's redundant, obsolete, and trivial. Unsupervised machine learning is brilliant at finding that data for you. If you were in our automation series, you would remember data discovery. Unsupervised machine learning is used very often to help find private, sensitive, and confidential data so that you can track it, manage it, and protect it. Then there's the dark data, the term you'll hear. This is any data that you don't know what's in it, in particular unstructured data. Unsupervised machine learning can basically turn the light on in the dark data so you know what you have and know how to manage it. And then, of course, we've been over threat detection. We don't have to go into that any further. We will discuss that more in the video. And then there's a very fascinating connection between unsupervised and supervised machine learning and predictive analytics, which we'll go over as we proceed through this video series. So let's take a closer look at some specific areas of unsupervised machine learning. And of course, the area is quite a bit broader than what we've got here. I have 5 that I've picked that I think show a good breadth. We can only cover them in so much detail. As I said at the outset of this video series, that we will be using common sort of everyday examples of ways in which these unsupervised machine learning methods are applied. Then I'll provide some notion of how these will apply to compliance. The issue there is that I don't really have any real data to show you because I can't. Client data, real threats are confidential. So we're just going to have to work with what we can here. The other thing I would note is that unsupervised machine learning sort of sets the stage for supervised machine learning in many ways. It informs it and is also used to help inform other types of decision making that happens, like classification. And we'll get into that as we get further along. One other note is that standard deviation I don't think is normally thought of as unsupervised machine learning, but I think that its inclusion here will help us understand roughly how we leverage an unsupervised approach. Standard deviation in our context is going to work around a single number. Correlation regression and k-means clustering are going to focus on 2 or more numbers. In our example, just 2 to keep things simple. Then hierarchical clustering is more of a flow chart, kind of an inverted tree, if you will. And then document clustering is a specific type of clustering that uses natural language processing, and it works on unstructured data, which is 80% of what an enterprise generates typically.